cow's milk, and is dairy the new Titanic? Hello, my name is Berty and I stopped eating animal products about 10 years ago. I haven't eaten any animal products intentionally for the last 7 years. And what I've been doing is I've been looking at where animal products come from for the last sort of 6 or 7 years. And these are some of the things that I found, and I'd like to share them with you today. What I need to say is that I know animal farmers and I know people who work in the dairy industry, and I know that they are not inherently bad people, but the reality is that the job that they do currently I disagree with, and I will try and find some suggestions for them because I don't think it's a compassionate business to be in. I understand that these farmers have grown up with that industry, or that's all they've ever known, and they live on farms that have been passed on to them, but I feel that there are other options for them. Also, I don't want to create this us and them mentality. I think that is counterproductive and creates a divide when actually we can make overlaps with each other. We can have constructive conversations and make progress. So what is milk? Milk is a white fluid that comes out of the udders or the teats of mammals, and is a liquid that is designed to grow babies bigger. And straight away, when we start thinking about cow's milk and the other animals' milk that we drink, clearly it's not for us. And Dr. Michael Clapper, highlights all the different reasons why it's not designed for humans. The American Dietetics Association, the British Dietetics Association, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and the NHS all say that you can be a healthy vegan, and their findings show that you can be a healthy vegan at every stage of life. So what that means to us as human beings in 2018, and in England especially, eating meat and eating animal products becomes a choice. And when you understand that milk from cows is not a biological necessity, it becomes a choice. You don't have to drink it. You don't have to consume those products or the products that come from milk. The NHS, which is the National Health Service in the UK, say that for those that have eczema, milk can be a trigger. Also, when we look at the world population, it's estimated that 65% of all human beings are lactose intolerant. That to me is a huge indicator that we don't need and we shouldn't be drinking milk. We're not designed to drink it. It's not for us. We are designed to drink milk as mammals while we're babies, but then we are weaned. We stop drinking it. And it is especially weird that we drink it from another species. In the title for this video, I put an apostrophe, and that was because an apostrophe can be used for possession, ownership of something. And in this case, the cow's milk is the cow's. It's not humans' milk, it's cow's milk. It belongs to them, and really we don't have any right to take it away from them, and especially in the ways that we do. So when we see milk in all the different forms, whether it's cheese, whether it's cream, whether it's yogurt, whether it's ice cream, actually it's cow's milk. It's come from cow's milk, belonging to cows. And whatever milk we drink from whatever animal, it belongs to them. It was intended for them to do what they want with it, not for us to do what we want for it. And I wanted to kind of return that possession, that ownership, that it's theirs and not ours. So there's so many different forms that milk's come in now. It's cheese, it's ice cream, it's creams, it's an extra milk powder that's been added to, let's say, a protein powder or into a cake mix. It's in lots of places around the world. And what we need to do is, when we see it in a pretty package or in a tub or wherever we see it, we need to think about actually where it's come from and who it's designed for. Because when you look at where milk comes from, it's actually pretty disgusting and pretty horrendous, some of the processes that can happen in that industry. So for milk to be produced, a female mammal needs to be pregnant. And in the UK, there's several ways that this can be done. One of them includes putting a bull into a field with other cows, or a single cow, and also artificial insemination. And this can involve collecting semen from a male bull, putting it into a pot, and then this needs to make its way into the female cows. So the semen is stored and it's then put into a long syringe. From there, a human being will put their arm into the cow's vagina and sometimes into the cow's anus as well to help guide the syringe in. I have seen this footage a couple of times and every time it makes me feel uncomfortable. One time I was nearly physically sick at just seeing a small clip of it because I feel that it's actually a violation of the sex organs of that individual. The individual that may not have wanted for that to happen to them. If you, in your own time, Google artificial insemination of cows, or any animal for that fact, you can make up your own mind and decide how you feel about that act. Do you think it's compassionate? Do you think it's moral? And within that thinking, remember that it's not necessary for you as a human being to survive. You have no biological need for it. Dr. Clapper points out that we are also just not cows, so it's not designed for us and we don't need it. And the great thing about 2018 is that there are so many options to buy instead of cow's milk or any milk from animals. And they include rice milk, hemp milk, oat milk, hazelnut milk, almond milk, if I didn't already say that one. There's so many options out there, and there's a vegan cheese and there's vegan ice cream and vegan cream and vegan soft cream. So these can taste really good. So what it means is these are viable options for us in 2018. We don't have to buy cow's milk or animal milk anymore. And I've seen it in a shop as cheap as 59p per litre for soya milk. And on top of that, if you make it at home yourself, there's lots of videos that show you how to do step-by-step guides to make your own nut milks, your own oat milks. If you make it at home, you can make it for even cheaper. There's this amazing option. You don't have to pay for it anymore. You don't have to pay for something that has come from a cow and involved all those other things. You can simply just make your own for cheaper. There's a really great ad campaign by the company Oatly at the moment, and their slogan is, "It's like milk, but for humans." And it's as simple as that. We don't need it. It's not designed for us. And there's all these other options: oat, hazelnut milk, macadamia milk, tahini milk, rice milk. There's so many different options that we can just choose instead. For me, the dairy industry in the UK is like the Titanic. At one point, it was this huge, majestic industry that it was portraying nutrition, it was portraying strength, it was portraying a persona of grandiose. But actually, the more I've looked into it, it's not as stable as it is perceived to be. And there's lots of things that could be seen as the icebergs that the dairy industry is hitting in 2018. So we have the rise of veganism, and the rise of social media, so information about where dairy products come from can be known to thousands of people like never before. Also, the reality is there's lots of debt in farming. There's lots of information from people who are dairy farmers and ex-farmers explaining that there's lots of debt, and there's a massive decrease in the number of farms that are still in the UK. This data shows that in 1995 there were 35,744 registered dairy farms. And in 2017 this is down to 3,554 farms. That is a decrease of 30,000 farms. And as I said before, this has a lot to do with debt, and it actually, if you think about it logically, has a lot to do with the market at the moment. And so I do feel sympathy for dairy farmers who are struggling, who are considering closing up that current industry they're doing. But at the same time, there is another option for them. There's an amazing documentary out now about a farmer. It's called 73 Cows. He had a compassionate dilemma going on. He was driving animals to their deaths, and he realized that it didn't make any sense to him. It made him feel uncomfortable. And so he was like, what can I do? And it turns out that the Vegan Society have a Grow Green scheme where they have a system where they help farmers transition from using animals to other options. So in this case, he's growing vegan organics. And the 73 cows, instead of being sent to slaughter, they are now living out their lives in a sanctuary. And there are lots of other options for dairy farmers and farmers who use animals. So you have solar, you have biofuels, you have wind, you have just growing plants, you have growing Christmas trees, or you could do another career. So you could sell half your land and then use the land that is usable for arable. Or search for another career. It's 2018 and you can find another career. Many people in different industries that have gone down have moved on. So we had the miners, we had Woolworths, we had Rover, we had Northern Rock. All of these big companies or big areas of industry, they all had employees like the dairy industry does, but there could be another avenue that dairy farmers could take. I pointed out earlier that I don't want this to be an attack video on dairy farmers and farmers. I would prefer to have a constructive conversation and find common ground. But alongside that, I have to be honest, and the reality is that if we produce milk in the UK, we generally take baby calves away from mothers. Those animals grieve and are upset when that happens. And we also do things like artificial insemination in cases against the wills of these animals. For me, that is sexual violation of their reproductive organs, and no evidence, no conversation I've ever had with farmers or other people have ever convinced me that this is a compassionate and moral thing to do to mammals in 2018. With that in mind, I want those that are watching to make up their own minds and think about, do you think it's a compassionate thing to do to animals when we don't need to? Do you think it's a moral thing to do to animals when we don't need to? And in 2018, do you think that's a progressive thing that we are doing as a species? Is it an evolved thing to put stress and make these animals suffer when we just don't need to? I hope everybody has a think about milk in general, and I hope you all make the logical and compassionate choice going forward.